Welcome to your weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 30th of September. I'll share some standout details to begin with to look out for. Then on screen, the event chart right at the start of the week, which will provide a backdrop for the following 7 days. Then as events unfold, I'll explore those for you before going through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces, from the perspective of the ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you for joining me. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal transit forecast, if you order it now, I'll provide for you the rest of year 2024 free. Each of these is totally unique to the person it's produced for. In my special package of 30% off, you'll also get your life roadmap report. This will help you to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and the combination of all this information give you searing insights to guide your moves ahead. Please see the link below for more. This week begins with a cazimi, a Mercury cazimi. We get around 5 or 6 of these a year. This is when the Sun and the Mercury position are totally unified. The rays of the Sun magnify the qualities of Mercury, which is about communication but also precision. But also on Monday we have the peak of an angle between Mars, very much about thrust and determination, and also Saturn, which can be about containment. That alliance between Mars in Cancer and Saturn on Pisces still continues beyond Monday, but it is at its strongest then. Wednesday sees the big event of the week. It's the solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse in Libra, which provides a backdrop for the next 6 months. It too, very close to Mercury. I'll explore that for you too. We also have on Thursday a link between the Sun and Black Moon Lilith. That's intriguing. And as the week draws to a close, essentially we have a grand water trine between Venus in the very deep, passionate sign of Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and also Saturn in Pisces. And I'll check out that for you as well. So on screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week. The Sun in Libra, pretty close to the South Node. If you are someone who tends to be a little bit of a people pleaser, that combination is encouraging you to set your boundaries a little firmer over this week and the months ahead. Now, the moon's in the very precise sign of Virgo, but it's actually forging a lovely sextile to Venus in Scorpio. So that precision that the moon in Virgo encourages us to grapple with, particularly in our home environment, could be around our connections to someone else. So a thoughtful gesture, perhaps doing something that helps someone in a practical way, that could be part of our thinking as the week begins. But as I mentioned in the introduction, Mars in Cancer forges a very solid link with Saturn on Monday. Mars in the sign of Cancer can see us getting a little prickly and frustrated if we don't feel understood, because Mars is about expressing things in a very direct, and it's a planet which asks us to take action. But I feel if there has been something in the background of our situation for some while that we've been finding difficult to get to a point of completion or gaining some traction, that aspect will help. But the cazimi on Monday, which happens later in the day, is when Mercury moves forwards and connects to the Sun. The Sun's energy pours its rays into Mercury, magnifying Mercury's natural gift for communication and also for the aforementioned precision. The host, Libra, is about finding balance, it's equilibrium. It also can be about fairness, but it's also about being tuned in to how we feel about others and improving the way we communicate. So if there has been some tensions recently, that combination, that cazimi, is asking us to be a little bit more detached, perhaps not take things quite so personally if there has been some brittle energy. But at the heart of the week, the solar eclipse in Libra provides a backdrop for the next 6 months. But because it is very close to Mercury, it really is asking us to sharpen up our listening skills. We live in a world where many people want to express an opinion, and it becomes a lot of opinions competing with other opinions. So we're all being encouraged to be a little bit more choosy about the opinions we listen to, but if there are some important people in our lives, making sure that we're available emotionally and in terms of energy wise to hear what they have to say. Now, Thursday's combination between the Sun and Black Moon Lilith could arouse within us some deeper desires. Is there someone around us that we've been attracted to but not quite taken that next step forwards? That combination could give us the push to reach out for that hidden fruit. But as the week comes to a close, it's very much about emotions. But emotions can be quite balanced, with Venus and Saturn well aligned with Mars. The angle between Venus and Mars is, of course, the two players that's very much to do with romance. But what we're being asked to do here is, yes, we can listen through the energy of Libra, we can tune into people diplomatically, but it also has to feel right. And that's what that collective at the end of this week is pushing us to observe. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces. Welcome Aries to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. Your ruler Aries is Mars, and Mars is forging a very influential link with Saturn at the start of this week. Saturn's been pushing you over the last couple of years to really wind up certain strands in your situation that really are more historic. This is all preparing you for when both Neptune and Saturn move into your sign for the first time next year. But also you have a dazzling solar eclipse on the 29th of March next year, which is going to give you one final chance to really push forwards to demonstrate your unique flair and also inspiration. So the position of your ruler at the moment to Saturn is asking you to look a little more inward. It's very much about what can you read into your situation through understanding your emotional motivations in a much clearer way. Then the solar eclipse at the heart of this week gives you the chance to link that knowledge, that awareness and those instincts into your connections to others. And your connections can be fabulous. There could be someone new and exciting entering your world in the next half year, but it's making sure that all those past strands are really settled, leaving you ready to go. And that really is what this week is about. The energy of Mercury, of course, suggests that you can cut through, because things have been a little foggy of late, as both the Sun and Mercury were opposed by the drifting, dreamy energy of Neptune. But this is a week when you can be much more yourself in terms of interacting with others in a very clear and purposeful way, and this week therefore gives you lots of opportunities to prime up those meaningful connections. Welcome Taurus to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. Whether it's around your social situation, your love life, or even the expression of your creativity, things may have felt a little foggy, particularly last week. Now you have an opportunity to really use the thorough side of your nature to really bit by bit appraise exactly what's meaningful to you. So your attention to detail is going to be crucial to this week's progress. But also, once you're clear on what you want to say, you can say it with real conviction, particularly with Venus now sparkling, your ruler, in your sector of relating, forging a delicious link with Mars, but also to Saturn towards the end of the week. So whereas there may have been a sense of frustration or uncertainty, this week can, right from the get-go, see you get on the front foot. But what about the solar eclipse? Well, the solar eclipse could guide you over the next 6 months to change certain key strands in your situation. It could be around some of your dietary or health approaches, and small but meaningful alterations can actually feed into your situation in a very powerful but also very positive way. So this is a week when precision, although it sounds a little dull and boring and not particularly sexy, can actually help you to discriminate and appraise your opportunities. But once you're clear on the facts and the details, then you can express yourself with real passion, determination, but no little charm as this week draws to a close. Welcome Gemini to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. The week begins with a Mercury cazimi. That's when the Sun and Mercury are totally unified. The radiance of the Sun, the warmth, heats up the natural characteristics of your ruler, which is very much about communication through your sign and precision through Virgo. But the host, Libra, is an air sign too, but for you is House 5. House 5 is very much about joy. It can be about pleasures. It's about manifesting the parts of our situation that we're really passionate about. It can be our social situation. It can also be about romance. But because your ruler Mercury is also very connected to the solar eclipse, which occurs on Wednesday and provides a backdrop for the next 6 months, if there's any part of your situation that you feel isn't really coming together in the way that you want, setting a more confident and a more self-assured mindset, because of Mercury being about how we think, will certainly take you a big step towards your needs. But ironically, this is also a week when the more emotional side of life, but particularly around the practical strands of your situation, so whether it's money, whether it's your work, whether it's your everyday structure, being in tune with how you feel about those areas will work well too. So as much as you can be playful, you may want to reach out and connect with someone. You may even go on a date. The 5th house of where that solar eclipse is also about speculation. So if there's something you're really interested in that you want to bring to life, as long as you listen to your instincts and your gut, all that emotional energy coming from Mars, Venus, and also Saturn in the parts of your chart, Cancer, 2nd house, money, Venus, 6th house, practicalities, Saturn, 10th house of work, as long as you listen to your feelings, but also deliver the message in the crisp, enthusiastic, and often amusing way that you can, then you have a great opportunity over this next half year to really power forwards in such a dramatic and compelling way. Welcome Cancer to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. If you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. Your thinking around a home or emotional matter can sharpen up this week, not just with the Mercury cazimi on Monday, but of course also with the solar eclipse. But you know, the thing I really like about your particular situation is Mars in your sign reaches the peak of its alliance with Saturn. If you're really determined to steer a situation in a very mindful way, the chances are you can just balance your approach in terms of your energy absolutely spot on. And then later this week, there's a great alliance between Venus, which joins in with Mars and also Saturn. And Venus is in a very social but also glamorous part of your situation. So if there is somebody that you're drawn towards in terms of your interactions, in your playtime or romantically, and it also feels right, which is going to come from that solar eclipse, you're going to have all the astrological assets to make some smart moves. But if your situation is much more focused on the internal part of your world, if there are some changes you want to make to your home, or you need to work from home, some adaptations that are required, or you're waiting to complete on a purchase or the rental of a property, things can really start to make progress this week. But even if you don't achieve exactly the outcome you want this week, the next 6 months can see some big changes occur for you very positively too. Welcome Leo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. The Mercury cazimi on Monday is when the Sun and Mercury exactly align. The power of the Sun, which is your ruler, radiates into the magician that is Mercury, which is very much about quick wits. But Mercury can also be about attention to detail for its rulership of Virgo. In your third house, I feel that your situation is going to start to pick up pace. There's a sense of excitement. You may, if you've got something to say, teach or learn, see a lot of activity through the solar eclipse over the next 6 months. But it's also worth being mindful that this week, Mars in your 12th house is connecting in a perfect alliance with Saturn. This started last week. It reaches a peak on Monday, but later in the week, Venus joins in with them too. So some of your thinking, in some ways, could be around your emotional sphere. Now that sounds like they're not mutually inclusive, but I think that if you talk to a sibling, talk to someone you're particularly close to, who can be a little detached, but at the same time is very perceptive about feelings, the conversation you have can actually help to move something forwards in terms of your internal world, your emotions, or a connection to someone, or put to rest a painful episode from your past. Welcome Virgo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. The week begins with your guide planet Mercury being radiated into by the power of the sun. Now you can be a very canny zodiac sign, and your attention to detail often helps you to get an added edge that others sometimes miss. But over the next 6 months, on the back of this week's solar eclipse, that talent you have is going to be amped up even more. But where you can make particular progress is in terms of any deals you have, whether it's for utilities, for the cost of your broadband and internet, whether it's the cost of your borrowing on a mortgage, or on store cards. All of these things, I feel that you're going to become even more crisp in your approach to squeeze out a little bit more value. But in this immediate week, there's also the opportunity to have a very, very profound connection to someone. Because Mars is in a very sociable area, one which is great for friendships. It's linking to the stern Saturn in your 7th house, which is really pushing you only to have very meaningful relationships, but both link back to Venus by the end of this week, which can be a flirty influence, but Venus is in the part of your scope to do with the way you express your ideas. And you could have a meeting of minds. It may be about something that you have a profound belief in. Maybe about the upcoming election in America. But it could be a hobby. Because Virgos have a real appreciation of using their creativity to create something tangible. If you are someone who has a great gift, by collaborating with someone else, you can really have a very firm relationship. So relationships come in all different formats. We know the solar eclipse in Libra is about relationships, but for you, I think it's a lot to do with those financial relationships. But in this immediate week, there could be a connection that gives you a lot of uplift, and it doesn't have to be a romantic one, but if it is, it could be one that turns out to be very solid if you have shared values. Welcome Libra to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. The week beginning with that glittering alliance between the Sun and Mercury is really asking you to take a firmer grip on your life direction. Yes, you can be the ultimate diplomat and very skilled at tuning into the needs of other people, but being a people pleaser isn't always the best thing. Sometimes we have to please ourselves. And the fact that the solar eclipse is so close to the south node in your sign, if you have had a tendency in the past to get too caught up in worrying about what other people think, this solar eclipse over the next 6 months, particularly with Mercury in the mix, is really asking you to be much more self-possessed about achieving what's important for you. And ironically, with Mars in a very assertive part of your chart, forging a very practical link to Saturn, but both linking back to Venus by the end of this week, if you are approaching someone about a deal, a proposal, or you're going into business for yourself or applying for a job, that mix of you showing more self-belief and single-mindedness, but at the same time reaching out to other people, could bring some very profound benefits, if not straight away, definitely over the next half year. Welcome Scorpio to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. I've talked to you recently about paradoxes in your situation. This week's solar eclipse is very psychological. Over the next 6 months, you may look at some issues that go back very historically in your life. But if you do, it's because you'll be releasing them, letting them go, which will free up so much extra energy for you. But equally, there may be some situations in the current period of your life where you do feel a little bit locked in, perhaps even somewhat oppressed. And I think if that's the case, it's where you don't feel you can express your creativity, or someone seems to have some kind of power over you, or you're not very happy in a romantic tie or even a friendship. And that's where this week's paradox is so powerful, because Mars, your traditional ruler, is forging such an amazing alliance with Saturn, but also Venus in your sign. If you really want to be single-minded about breaking free from something that just simply isn't working, this week gives you the chance to do it. Now, if you're not quite ready, even if you think that's the direction of travel, the imprint of the solar eclipse and the planetary influences feeding into it beyond the actual eclipse itself means you will have the chance to liberate yourself over this next half year. So if you're in a job that makes you really miserable, if you've got a line manager that's not great, if you've got perhaps something that's a bit difficult in terms of your lifestyle, you find it difficult to sleep, find it awkward not to raid the fridge late at night, rather like my good self, those are the type of things, those things that you're a bit habitually into as a way of escaping some unpleasantries in your situation. Those are the things you can free yourself up from over the next 6 months. But equally, if there's someone who's really scintillating you at the moment, the chances are it can take a step forwards, but you still may want to keep the relationship and them pretty close to your chest. Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. If we think to that part of your life when you were a free spirit, travelled around, explored, learnt so much, it's been a massive part of your life story. But since Saturn moved into Pisces just under 2 years ago and went into its retrograde this year, the emotional dimension in your situation may have felt quite limited. Maybe it has just been to do with where you live. It's not been ideal. The people around you, the environment doesn't work for you. Perhaps there's family strife or politics. Perhaps you haven't always felt at ease with looking at that more tender, vulnerable side of your nature. Because that part of you that loves knowledge and loves connecting to people is actually really going to be turned up to max from this week's influences with the Mercury cazimi and the solar eclipse. And therefore, the next 6 months could be a lot more sociable. But I think what's different now, Sagittarius, is it needs to be sociable but with people, or the connections or the network needs to be with people where you have a really meaningful connection. Now, that's not to say in the past you didn't have a meaningful connection, but I just think it was all much freer, much more fluid. You weren't necessarily quite so introspective because you were just enjoying the moment and all that exploration and adventure and laughter and jolly times. It's a massive part of who you are, but there is something that you do need to get at the core of your life working properly. And along with the solar eclipse this week, we do have a powerful alliance between Saturn, Mars, and also Venus. And it's important that your future plans and the connections you're making for that future are with people that you feel very, very invested in. And if you don't, it probably is still a time to be considering some of those connections. Welcome, Capricorn, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. The archetype of your sign is someone who's very orientated towards success, but the way you go about achieving your goals is very patient, diligent, steadfast, and systematic. It's about perseverance as much as passion. But you know, this week's Mercury cazimi and the solar eclipse are really going to turn up within you a greater appreciation of breaking through towards some kind of golden prize. But the critical thing, Capricorn, and of course that prize would be uniquely different to each Capricorn person, but the important thing is who you travel with, because the chances are, however much you want to do it, mainly for yourself, if you are working collaboratively with someone else, the chances of increasing your odds of breaking through are going to go up exponentially. But also there's another set of influences that coalesce around this week's solar eclipse. And one of them is Mars. Mars is in your sector of relating, but Mars can be feisty. It's not at its best in Cancer, but one of the good things for you is it can help you to front up your boundaries. So if you feel that someone has been taking some liberties, particularly around your professional situation, I feel that this week's influence could see you thinking about applying for jobs outside where you're working, or working with people closely who are more tuned in to what you need, who understand where you're coming from. And if you are in a partnership, whether it's romantic or business or just in a friendship, and you both have similar aims, you can work very closely together in the next 6 months and have a major success. But if you're not happy with your fellow traveller, that's where some kind of alteration may be required. But by the end of this week, as your ruler Saturn aligns with Mars, they are in an exact trine at the start of the week, but also with Venus by the end of this week. Venus is in the part of your scope to do with your higher principles, and it's the people who inspire you the most that you're going to demonstrate the best part of you, the best part of your leadership skills, but the best part of how you can achieve those goals and ambitions. But I do feel it needs to be collaboratively and with the people you feel most comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable at the moment in any close relationship where you're needing to collaborate, that's where some kind of rethink or reset may be required. Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. There's a duality to your sign. On one hand, your traditional ruler, Saturn, gives you an appreciation of continuity. And of course, you are a fixed sign. So what you feel particularly comfortable with is not something that you easily give way on. But also, your other ruler, Uranus, is much more progressive. So that can create a little bit of a tension between staying with what you know or being more experimental. But as this week begins, as the sun aligns with Mercury in a perfect cazimi, it's really pushing you to be much more experimental, not just this week, but over the next 6 months. Now that can be around travel, higher education. It can be in terms of trying to make your life much more spontaneous. Things that have served a very strong purpose for you in terms of creating the fabric of your existence, if they have become a little bit too familiar, what starts to happen is we can then become rather listless and bored. And if that does call out to you, it's a great opportunity this week to shake things up. But it does mean pushing back against that more Saturnian energy, which is interesting because Saturn actually is going to have a very powerful impact this week in its own right beyond your rulership. But the solar eclipse, which occurs on Wednesday, also very close to Mercury, but also the South Node. If you have had a little bit of a blockage about certain destinations in terms of travel, certain modes, perhaps to do with learning, if you haven't quite fulfilled your true potential, you may find yourself checking out some courses and fresh approaches which can be really enlivening for you. But if you retreat into what you know, things might not break through quite as dynamically as they could do. But also on Monday, your traditional ruler Saturn, forges a very solid link to Mars. If you are trying to work on your resources, work on the foundations of your life, and Saturn's been pushing you to do that since March 2023, and it hasn't always been easy. There's been some headwinds. You're going to get an extra sense of determination to really get on top of all of this. And that may come from new knowledge and information from the GEMINI, but also the solar eclipse. If you download that, that can help you to make some very informed choices. And by the end of the week, as Venus, which is in a gorgeous part of your scope in terms of how you connect with people in a position of influence. So if you are trying to negotiate a new role for yourself, chances are you can come across as a solid citizen, but also imaginative. So in a way, Aquarius, what this week is asking you to do is to embrace both sides of your nature, the progressive side that Uranus gives you, but also the side that Saturn gives you, but maybe with some amendments. So fresh information, fresh approaches, and not just this week, but over the next half year, could see some kind of very exciting development. Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of September for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free, 30% off, and also your life roadmap report. Please see the link beneath this video for more. Ever since Saturn, the planet of structure but also of restraint, moved into your sign in March 2023, and particularly if you're born in the first half of the sign of Pisces, you may have experienced a sense of limitation, low energy, frustration, things haven't quite flowed as you would like. Now ironically this week, Saturn forges a stunning alliance with Mars on Monday, which reaches the peak of an aspect that started to build up last week. And Mars is very charismatically located in your sister water sign of Cancer, but they both link back to Venus by the end of this week, in the pioneering part of your chart, which is very much about connecting to people around your highest principles, the truth, if you like. Now, Venus, of course, can be about money, but whatever you have felt has limited you, what it's probably done is just slim down your world to what's truly essential. So if you do make a contact with someone in a relationship or in terms of business, and it really feels meaningful, the chances are that that tie could become quite significant over the next 6 months. But of course, the week begins with the GEMINI, Mercury GEMINI, in your 8th house. Now, Mercury isn't just about the flirty quick wits of Gemini, it's also about the precision and analytics of Virgo. But in the 8th house can be about transformations, but very deep transformations. If you're really interested in psychology, or even esoteric subjects like astrology, the chances are over the next 6 months that passion is going to increase. But by diving deep, you can unlock more and more knowledge and awareness to guide your moves. But the 8th house can also be where we're most absolutely invested, either in a romantic sense or financially. And if something isn't working, the solar eclipse on Wednesday, being very close to Mercury, can give you the thinking and research skills to check out where things are. But because the South Node's in the mix, if you're sticking in a situation financially or emotionally or romantically because you feel you need to, there could be some dependency there that you may need to look at. And that's where Saturn in your 1st house is pushing you, and it may not be easy to step into your power. And if you can step into your power with Mars and Venus's help this week, you can start to extricate yourself from a situation which isn't working. But you know, the converse can be true. The solar eclipse can see you going into a situation which does feel totally right. And it just depends on your exact circumstances of how this will play out. But if, for example, you're rather fearful of going into a romantic relationship because of past hurts, that's the South Node. It's protecting you, but also it's stopping you from achieving a joyfulness that's available to you if you can look at those anxieties and fears and release some past hurts. That frees up the space to commit. But if you are someone who wants to do better with your long-term finances, particularly around shares, investments, pensions, this solar eclipse can give you a lot of business now to make some very shrewd moves over the next half year.